Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. As always, this is the rule. There are 6 albums to go through. I'm going to go through them as quick as I can manage, which might be slow, it might be fast, we'll see, we'll find out soon. We begin with Cane Hill's new album, A Piece of Me I Never Let You Find. They're finally back after 6.5 years, as long as you don't include the EPs that they put out a few years ago. Yeah, I fucking love these guys. One of my favourite, alt-leaning sort of new metal chorus band. Been give this one an A+. I mean, there's nothing really else that I can give it. It's basically what they've been doing for the past few years, what they've been doing since Too Far Gone, because they did check out their EPs in the time between. And yeah, it's just them, but brought into a more full album format with more experimentation and a bit more risk. I mean, my favourite song on this album is titled How Could You Lose, and it's got more of a synth poppy vibe and a really good guitar solo. It's one of the most unique songs they've done, and considering that this is Cane Hill we're talking about, and they somehow continue to be one of the most unique new metal bands going, it sort of doesn't even fit to call them new metal at this point. But they're fucking great. I love their riff work. James Barnett is still one of the best guitarists going for my money. Love his riff work, love his guitar solos. I really like the drumming and the vocals and the bass as well. Really good lyrical themes. I will say they're one of my lesser favourite parts. Yeah, okay, like, it's got some good themes of existentialism and loss and stuff, and the band sell it quite well. But also, the last song is just a redo of a previous song on the album, which kind of hurt the pacing a little bit. And, but like, I can't really fault the pacing that much either because it's got all this experimentation and it pays off for the most part. Like, this is the band probably pushing the most risks that they've ever pushed, and I think that they've earned the right to do it. And honestly, I'm just glad that they put a new album out, considering how hard it was to even put this one together. So I'm just glad to have Cane Hill back in any way, shape, or form, and they're still killing it. And they're still definitely a band more people should listen to, and it actually bothers me that more people don't talk about them. But yeah, this album fucking rules, and it's not the only A plus of the episode either. Spoiler alert. So yeah, go check it out when you can find the time. Next, we have The Cure with their 14th album, Songs of a Lost World. I think you all know The Cure by now. They're a pretty fucking good band, even if this was my first full album by them. I know, I didn't really pick up on the gothic rock thing for ages. I'm sorry. I'm a heretic. But I really fucking like this one. I'm giving it an A. Really good stuff. I like the themes of loss and regret. Really good lyrical themes. I feel like it's a thing the band have done quite a bit before. But the instrumentation is quite good too. I will say maybe my favorite thing, besides the performances, I would say my favorite thing overall is the production. I really like the gloomy atmosphere that it provides. It's really mixed well by Robert Smith alongside Paul Corkett. Yeah, it's got a really nicely organic feeling mix to it, really good layering on the sounds as well, and nice sort of background elements that I think would go missed on just one listen. But I listened to this a few times, so yeah, picks up on that. Great performance as well. Robert Smith can still absolutely belt when he needs to. Really good vocals. I've always loved his delivery. Really good instrumentation, really good writing. I do quite like the pacing, but I would say it's probably the element with the album that suffers the most, in my opinion, because the album is, I think it's the longest, no, it's the second longest album of the last week. I just remember what the longest one was. But at 49 minutes and some change, it's quite a long set, and it's only got 8 songs, and it takes a while for those songs to really start ramping up, and a lot of them just do kind of sit in their laurels. Like, the final song is like 10 minutes long, and it's not until 7 minutes in where it feels like anything happens. I'm sorry, it's just a bit uneven. There's not really a lot of interesting dynamics leading up to those moments, but for the most part, there is interesting dynamics, just not in that last song. It's not a bad song by any means, but God, it takes a while to get to the good bit. Which, might be the main thing with this album. It's good, it just takes a while to get to the really, really good. But the album is still really, really good, and I highly recommend it. Next, we have Planes Mistaken for Stars and their 5th album, Do You Still Love Me? Now, this is a unique case, as this is the band's first album in 8 years, and it sort of suffers from a couple of things. I'm giving it an A first and foremost, even though I did make that sound like I was saying it to be bad. No, this album's really fucking good. Sort of a post-hardcore emo sort of group. Really good shit, really good mix of sounds there. But the main things that hang over this album is that it's their first one since the passing of Matt Bellinger, who was their former guitarist, I think, and it was the last one to feature lead singer Jared O'Donnell, who also played guitar for the band. And yeah, this is his last known recordings. It was back in 2021 that they recorded it, and he died of esophageal cancer in 2022. 2, if memory serves. I know I've got them written down, it says 2021. I apologise for that. But yeah, it's sad that that was his last effort with the band. I think this album might have been recorded in 2020 in that case, but still really love the dynamics, love the instrumentation. It feels like this raw and like really deep diving, hard hitting riff work. You know, the drumming especially is really goddamn good. The lyricism is especially fantastic as it deals with those themes of loss. And it feels a bit more poignant because it feels like a lot of songs are about the death of Matt, because he died before Jared did by a few years. But like now it feels like it's taken on more meaning because they're Jared's last ever words, and now he's dead. It feels like a sort of message to himself, I guess, and it just helps it stand a bit more. And his central performance is really great. I think the pacing and structuring are probably the biggest like nitpicks I have with the album. Again, neither of them are inherently bad. But a few of the songs, well, quite a lot of the songs are really short and they don't leave a lot to chew on after the album is over, which makes the runtime of 39 minutes and, well, just over 7 seconds, so depending on, like, the source you look for. Sorry, just 39 minutes and 7 seconds. But, yeah, it feels like there's a lot of padding to the album, which makes it stretch out a little bit. And the production feels weird at times. It feels a bit too clean, and it really could have benefited from a more like raw and sort of cutting, like edgish sort of, well, edgy sort of vibe. But as it stands, I still thought this album was really good and a really good last note for this band who I'd never listened to before. It's probably why the album interested me so much, because of the stuff that happened leading up to it. So yeah, still a big recommend from me. Next we have Nashville-based hardcore punk band Third Face. This is their second album, I believe. It's probably through as one of the last week, and it gets the grade of a B. I almost said the lowest grade, it's not the lowest grade. But it gets the grade of a B. I really enjoyed it for the most part. It was really good, in-your-face, hardcore punk, fucking fury and energy. Really like that, really like that there's some noise bits that help with the sound. The band put in a fucking great shift. Catherine Edwards is a really good vocalist. But their drummer probably stands out the most to me. I don't know their name, but the drummer's really good and definitely does probably some of the best work of any of the band members. However, slightly extra on the side of my nose there. I did like the lyrics. The main sort of themes are sort of about political skepticism, mental health, but they're not really given a lot of time, and a few of the phrases are quite repetitive. Which I think might be the album's main thing, because I get that it's got like this really, really fast pace to it. You know, it's just over 20 minutes, but like, it makes for a lack of cohesion, and a lot of songs feel too short to really justify what's happening. And again, it's a short album, so I shouldn't really complain much about the justification of the length. But it can hurt if an album's short too, you know. And I don't hate the mixing, but there's just some really odd choices that were made, and it doesn't really feel as fleshed out as it could be. But all in all, this is a pretty good act. But yeah, this band is really good, and I am giving them the benefit of the doubt, especially since they're still so early in their career. So I wonder if they'll take the more necessary steps next time, but as is, I don't think they need to change much, and I still quite like this one. Next, we have quite possibly the most anticipated release of last weekend, even though it came out in the middle of last week. Tyler the Creator with his new album, his 8th album, Chromacopia, my first Tyler the Creator album. I think pretty much the entirety of the albums in this video are all firsts, and none of them are debuts, so I don't really have an excuse. Actually, no, Cane Hill, I've heard all that stuff before, but they're the only exception. However, give this one the second A+. Yeah. Really, really good rap stuff. I love the mixture of like soul and jazz and R&B elements. And if there's one thing I quite like, it's just Tyler himself. His production's really goddamn good. Like the beats just sound nice when mixed with all the sounds that go into them, and the mix makes those sounds very big and strong. You know, big, strong, and makes it quite interesting. It's a very eclectic mix, and it works really well. You know, works on a lot of sides, a lot of facets. Tyler's performance is really good as well. Obviously, there's a lot of really good guest stars I won't like. In fact, there's a lot of fucking guest stars, but all of them are pretty great. But Tyler himself is the centerpiece, and his delivery and flow are really, really good. But mostly I also just really like the lyrical themes. They're just about him hitting his 30s. He's only a year older than me, which makes me sad. But it's just learning life lessons, learning shit from his mom, and like the things he's just realizing what she meant now, you know, which is an interesting sort of thing, and adds to the main theme of the album, which is just like life hits you hard when you least expect it, you know, and it's really, really well done in that way. And yeah, I like the instrumentation of beats as well. Just really fucking handled well. I like the pacing too. I actually do quite like the pacing. But maybe a couple of songs near the end blur together. It didn't need to have a couple of them. Although the closing song, I Hope You Find Your Way Home, is a fucking great way to end the album, and I like the callback that it has, so that kind of makes up for it. But yeah, a really fucking good album. For my first Tyler the Creator album, I feel like I could have done a lot worse, and I'm glad I did this well with it. And finally, we return to England for the Virgin Marys and their fifth album, The House Beyond the Fires. Now, I won't blame you for hearing the album title and seeing the album cover if you were thinking this was a symphonic metal sort of band. It's not. It is a punky, hard rocky sort of duo. And give this one the lowest grade of the episode, which is a B minus. Now, I like the instrumentation quite a lot. Actually, I think a lot of the riffs are really, really good. And when punk rock, effective energy is mixed with like hard rock, I was going to say hardcore punk, but when it's mixed with hard rock showmanship, it's done quite well, and the bands are pretty good. Drummer Danny Dolan stands out quite nicely, and Ali Dickety, who's the vocalist slash guitarist of the band, really good frontman, got a little charisma to him. But there's a bunch of caveats with this one. I like the lyricism, mostly about political stuff, but when it tries to add in other themes that don't fit in, it just doesn't go as well. And also, goddamn, there's a lot of repetition to themes. Pretty much all the choruses are just the title of the song repeated over and over. And considering how unnecessarily long some of the songs can feel, that doesn't work. I mean, the only song that really kind of works is my favourite song on the album, which is You're a Killer, which is just it's the most punky track. It's got a really fun ending to it as well. But yeah, it's just like besides that, the pacing just feels uneven, like split between punk and hard rock, and it doesn't really know how to make them gel. And the production is so odd. There's a lot of over processing on instrumentation, and it makes Ali's voice, and he's got a lot of natural charisma and a really good delivery, but it makes his voice sound really constricted, and I don't really like that, you know. But all in all, it's still really good just from a riff perspective. But like, it is sort of how I feel when I listen to it. It's sort of torn into different directions. And not really sure where it wants to go. I think it's not helped by the fact that the album doesn't look very punk rock, but that's just me. You know, the album cover doesn't look like it. But all in all, not bad. And this is the band's first album in 6 years, but like, The Cure put their first one out in 2016, and they did a lot better, so Virgin Marys don't really have an excuse in my opinion. Next is the official ranking system which people care about. So at the bottom I'd probably have to go with the Virgin Marys with The House Beyond the Fires, then third place with Ministerial Cafeteria, and the last four are kind of difficult, but if I had to go with anything, I'd probably go with Planes Mistaken for Stars with Do You Still Love Me, The Cure with Songs of the Lost World, Cane Hill with The Piece of Me I Never Let You Find, and then at the top, Tyler the Creator with Chromacopia. But as always, go listen to all of these and formulate your own opinions, because that's what makes this shit interesting. Favourite album cover goes to Planes Mistaken for Stars. I just really like how it looks. I like the fact that all these stars are connected to make this really nice sort of looking dome thing. It's got really nice colours, simple black and blue and white. Really like how it looks. Favourite song goes to Hope You Find Your Way Home from Chromacopia by Tyler the Creator. Just a really, really fucking well constructed song with a really good performance, and I like the callbacks to previous lines and motifs on the album. Really good shit. That will actually about do it from me though. The next thing you'll see me for will be, ladies and gents, tomorrow night it is fucking time. Defy the Gods 6, live tomorrow night, whenever I get done eating dinner. I can't wait for it. All the Yetos have been downloaded, all of the stats have been balanced out. It is going to be such a good night, I hope so, at least. I'll see you all for that, though. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.